The date was December 9th, 2023. I was playing some Team Fortress 2 on, well, what other map than 2 Fort, right? I was playing engineer, minding my own business, when all of a sudden I saw a message in game chat. It was someone on the other team, someone by the name of Integrity King, who asks, "Hey, does anybody have the Kozlowski kick?" I responded with, "Yeah, I got it." He says, "What do you want for it, Flaming Cow? I'll give you anything." I asked him what he got and he said, anything. As I was typing my next response, someone in team chat said, "Hey Flaming, you do realize that this guy's been called out multiple times for being a scammer, right?" I responded with, "Really?" He says, "Yeah, he'll ask for the Kozlowski kick taunt, and if you don't give it to him, he'll start calling you a pedo." That's when someone else in team chat said, "Yeah, he's just a dumbass scammer. Don't trade with this dude." I thanked the two people, and any thoughts of me doing trading with this guy were thrown out the window. However, Integrity King was still in chat asking me what I wanted for the taunt. Now, I had way better things to do than start some argument with a random guy on 2 Fort, so as politely as I could, I said, "Hey buddy, I appreciate the offer, but I honestly don't feel like trading right now, and I think I would rather stick with my taunt." And the moment I said that, he immediately responds with, "Wait, aren't you a pedo?" Yep, that's all it took to set him off. And the person who first warned me about this guy said,
"Like clockwork."
Anyway, Integrity King would go off in chat calling me a pedophile and a scammer, funnily enough, which, if I was a scammer, why would I have declined the trade offer? If I really was a scammer, I would have taken up that offer and scammed Integrity King, but anyway, it's clear Integrity King has no clue what he's actually saying. Anyway, an argument would soon break out between me, Integrity King, the two people on red who had warned me, and one person on blue who was also going after Integrity King. It was mainly me just calling him a pathetic scammer and telling him to get a life, while he was calling me a pedo and a scammer. While the others were saying roughly the same thing that I was, apart from the person on blue, who was just going on about how bad Integrity Farms from South Park is. Now, if you play engineer in any similar way that I do, you know how defensive you get when a spy saps your sentry. So I decided to focus more on the game rather than the argument in chat, still checking in every now and then just to see what was going on. And for the most part, Integrity King had stopped going after me and started going after the 3 people attacking him. Now, what was said between the 4 is mostly lost on me, but I do remember one thing said by Integrity King. Not sure who it was directed to, but the message was, "I will rape your f***ing sister." Yeah. This guy isn't your average TF2 scammer. Anyway, a couple of minutes would pass and Integrity King would either leave the server or he'd be kicked. Either way, he was no longer in our game. I started talking a bit more crap about the guy, mentioning how he was bottom of the leaderboard the entire match, stuff like that. I thanked the 2 people who had warned me, plus the person on blue for sticking up for me in the argument, and soon I would leave the game. After I left the game, I would do 2 things. 1, I would go to his Steam profile, and 2, I would go to Discord to warn my friends about this guy. Which I actually got a response from one of my friends, Szalt, who had his own encounter with Integrity King, but we won't get into that just yet. At first glance of his profile, nothing was too out of the ordinary. Cool profile picture of Ruby the Cherry, couple cool artworks, cool effects, not too far off from the average Steam profile. But it's when we get to the comments that things start to seem a little fishy. Now, you'd think that if 3 people in a server knew who this guy was, then there'd be a heap of comments calling this guy out as a scammer, right? Well, you'd be wrong. There were actually no comments calling this guy out at all. And you might be thinking, Flaming Cow, you can easily remove any comment you don't like on your Steam profile. And to that I say, yeah, it's extremely easy to remove a comment on your profile. But it wasn't the lack of negative comments about this guy that was throwing me off, but the amount of positive comments that was throwing me off. Plus rep, this guy gets bitches. Sold me keys. 2 keys, 59 rep. Plus rep, super cool guy who helped me and showed me tips in TF2 with my friend to help him get better. Really cool guy. Now, you might think maybe Integrity King has a good side to him. And if you think that, well, you believe in the good of people way too much. Literally, all the people who left these comments are friends of Integrity King. And then there's this person who has left the most positive comment with the most basic name and profile picture, who is Steam level 0 and has a private account. Yeah, I think it's safe to assume that this is some sort of alt account owned by Integrity King. These comments were definitely left here to try and trick more people into thinking he's legit. Moving on from his profile, we now move on to the stories about this guy, starting from the least descriptive to the most descriptive. Our first piece of Integrity King media is this Reddit post from the r/TF2 subreddit. The post itself does not explicitly call out Integrity King, however, it does show him saying some very messed up stuff. Stuff that I cannot even say on YouTube. When we get into the comments, we can see a couple people talking about Integrity King. I heard people talking about him, and I don't like him. Pedophile, racist, scammer. Don't trust him. Hey, I know that Integrity King. Yesterday I saw him beg someone for a $20 taunt in 2 Fort and get kicked. Yeah, this guy's been asking for the laughing taunt for like ever. Showing that Integrity King not only asked for the Kozlowski kick, but also asked for the Schadenfreude taunt, another really common TF2 taunt. However, it would be this comment that would catch my attention. Yeah, Integrity King is a pedo, by the way. Here's a video for proof. Linking this video made by Brandon TF2, the only person who has uploaded a Integrity King video on YouTube. I won't play the video as Integrity says some very bad stuff, and I want you guys to go and watch Brandon TF2's video on Integrity King for yourself. But in the video, we can hear Integrity King saying some very inappropriate stuff to what seems to be an underage TF2 player. He also says some other insulting words to other players, as well as saying the N-word a couple of times. We can also hear him trying to scam another TF2 player in the game, which is weird since he was just going on about saying a bunch of racial slurs and stuff, but anyway. Again, please go and check out Brandon TF2's video on Integrity King. It really shows who this guy is. Anyway, when I did some research on Integrity King, I found a bunch of reports made on this guy on sites like backpack.tf and stuff like that. But I won't be covering those, as I actually managed to get in contact with 2 people who have their own Integrity King experiences. One has asked to remain anonymous, and the other has asked to simply be referred to as K. But before we get into those 2, let's interview my friend Szalt. How did you meet Integrity King?
In a Versus Sexton Hill server, around the summer updates release, 2023.
Was he asking anything in chat?
He was being a general dick and pissing off anyone. I was mic spamming at the time and it caught his attention.
What did he say?
Mostly critiquing and negative comments towards my loadouts and frags.
What made you trade with him?
He came up to me asking if I wanted to buy Aussies, Australian weapons. This was a few weeks after I met him.
How long did it take you to realize you had been scammed?
When he told me in TF2 voice chat, as soon as the trade finished.
What were some notable items taken from you?
Australian wrench, 2 unusual pro streaks, stuff like that.
What was he saying after he scammed you?
Threatening comments, scummy stuff like that, personal threats, doxing, and stealing my account.
How much money were those items in total?
Backpack.ts says 200 USD, roughly 300 Australian dollars.
He made threats about stealing your account, or did he actually steal your account?
He got in somehow.
What did he do?
Worst thing he did was buying some stuff in the Steam Point store. It wasn't long on there. He changed my name and description on my TF2 profile.
To what?
Go kill yourself, Szalt, lost all my skin because I'm hard, respectively.
Well, that's all the questions I need. Thank you, Szalt. Now, we can gather a couple of things from Szalt's story here. For one, he won't always ask for a taunt, and sometimes will ask if someone is willing to trade Australian weapons with him. We also learn that if he can, Integrity King will hack into someone's Steam account. Now, I wouldn't be too scared by this, as Szalt said he accidentally leaked his personal information to Integrity King, which caused the hack in the first place. This also shows that Integrity King is willing to dox someone. But again, I wouldn't be too worried about this, as Integrity King did fail to dox Szalt. Just so you guys know that this story is legit, Here is a screenshot showing that Szalt and Tegrity actually did trade. Next up is Anonymous. This is some of the notable stuff he had to say about Tegrity King.
He's a racist, pedophilic scammer. I'm sure that 99% of his inventory is stolen items, even his 2 f***ing golden frying pans. I know Tegrity as someone who likes to harass. I've been in games with him where he constantly harasses certain individuals, sometimes in voice chat, most of the times in text chat. His voice sounds like he's merely a teenager, but since he's been around since 2019-2020-ish, I'd assume he's between the ages of 16 to 19. He has no chill. He will threaten to molest, rape, murder anyone. He will say any slur he wants, he simply doesn't give it. From what I've heard and seen, he likes to manipulate when it comes to scamming, pretends to be someone else so he can win the trust of his victims. He used to impersonate another person named Teddy. I don't know much on that person, now I think this is him. I can't tell if he's impersonating this person or if he's a friend of Tegrity King's. He's not on his friends list from what it seems, but I don't know. Keep in mind, him impersonating him was like 2 years ago. Now that he's fueled his emo music and South Park, he's now Tegrity King.
From this interview, we can gather that Tegrity King used to impersonate someone by the name of Teddy. I don't know much about this Teddy person or if he's associated with Tegrity King, but it just shows more of Tegrity King's lies. Our next person being interviewed is Kay, who has by far the most information on Tegrity King.
My history with Tegrity King started in mid-2021. By then, he'd already established himself as an annoying little prick with a pubescent voice, lurking around 2/4 servers. He didn't scam people at this point in time as far as I know, although he did brigade around with groups of friends spewing vitriolic racism and shit talk to those that displeased them. I was majorly involved in the process of investigating a scam he pulled on a former friend of mine, who in the transaction lost items equivalent to 50 keys. He had sought Tegrity King out as a middleman to conduct the trade the flamethrower in for pure keys, wherein he'd used that pure key to buy an Australian rocket launcher. I'm not quite sure why this friend of mine required a middleman. It may be because he is low IQ, intellectually disabled to a degree, although it is odd as he has conducted trades on his own that have been successful, which leads me to believe that Tegrity King convinces vulnerable people, mentally ill, disabled, etc., to trust him as a middleman for the trading of highly valuable items.
Here are some screenshots of Tegrity King trading with Steve-O.
At that point in time, the group of people I was associated with and the people Tegrity King was associated with were pitted in a bit of faction-based fight. We congregated a few times in the Twitch chat of a player named Oates, who was heavily associated with Tegrity King and his friends. This drama encompasses many individual elements. It was also when a part of the community was attempting to ostracize a player named Buck, due to his cheating and allegations that his partner, a girl named Maddie, had killed herself, with emotional manipulation and abusive behavior implied on Buck's part.
Here are some screenshots of Tegrity King, who goes by Mr. Nuke Nuts on Twitch, mocking Steve-O. Also, let's talk about this Bup guy for a second. From what Kay has told me, Bup was a cheater who enjoyed hanging around groups of other cheaters in TF2 not too long ago. Apparently Bup had some acute mental illness or something like that. Now, during the rebellion against cheaters in the TF2 community, some people, mainly Tegrity King, would harass Bup and make up allegations that he caused the death of his girlfriend by suicide. Here in the screenshot, we can see Tegrity King saying some very nasty things about Bup and his girlfriend. Now, Bup's girlfriend had never actually committed suicide, and it was all a big lie. Now, I'm not sure if Bup still hangs around with those groups of cheaters or if he actually still does cheat, but according to Kay, he hasn't been seen on TF2 for a while. Anyway, back to Tegrity King.
This one scam that Tegrity conducted against Steve-O was never remedied. Tegrity held the keys over his head as an incentive, although it was his rightful property. While he encouraged Steve-O to do and say horrible things, Although by that time I was involved and ensured that Steve-O did not have to denigrate himself for what he saw as a chance to get his keys back. Honestly, Tegrity isn't the type of person to give up once he gets what he wants. I was 100% confident then and still now that he would have had Steve-O seriously tarnish his own reputation in a desperate bid for those keys, just to turn around and block him. As a result of Tegrity's manipulative personality and lack of empathy, sociopath, the next best thing to do was leave a negative backpack TF review. This isn't a be-all end-all in my eyes, and is an extremely slack consequence for Tegrity's behavior, although it would be quite harsh on him when it came to trading with higher tier traders, which was an incentive to leaving the review.
Here is the review if you're curious.
My first review/rating was taken down shortly after for lack of evidence. The rating below depicts a proper implementation, therefore I followed the exact strategy and left the screenshot posted above as proof. The rating remained for months, hell, perhaps even a year and a half. Oddly enough, I was informed relatively recently, 1 to 2 weeks ago, that my Backpack.tf review of Tegrity King had been taken down by a moderator, who cited it as irrelevant. Cannot quite recall what the reason was, as the notifications on the site expire. I can recall that it was completely bullshit and another clear sign of Tegrity manipulating people unaware of his notoriety.
K sends over a couple of uneditable text documents between him and Tegrity King, which I cannot show because of K's wish to be referred to as K, but I will go over what they are roughly talking about. K and Tegrity King talk about the Steve-O scam for a bit. Tegrity is unaware about the fact that Steve-O is friends with K. K asks if he thinks Teddy is behind the scam, which Tegrity King denies. Tegrity King then asks K if he's a fan of the band Gorillaz, which K responds with a yes. Tegrity then changes the topic from Steve-O to Bup. In these chat logs, we can really see Tegrity King's manipulative nature in action. Him steering the conversation away from Steve-O to asking him if he likes Gorillaz and then changing the subject to Bup. Also, notice how he says that Teddy has nothing to do with Steve-O, which could mean that Anonymous's theory about Teddy being associated with Tegrity King could be correct, or it could be because he doesn't want to sabotage Teddy's reputation so that way he can continue impersonating him. Anyway, that is it for the interviews. Massive shout out to Szalt, Anonymous, and K for helping me better understand Tegrity King as a person. Now, before we end this video, I am aware that 27% of my viewership comes from America, and well, you might be wondering, if Tegrity King lives in Australia, how is he going to be a threat to me? And to that I say, Tegrity King himself isn't a threat to you at all. However, this video can act as a warning. I know for a fact Tegrity King is far from the only scammer in TF2. There are definitely hundreds of more TF2 scammers out there waiting to steal your backpack. So use this video as a lesson. Don't trade with everyone you meet in TF2. Run a quick background check with the person you're trading with, stuff like that. Anyway fellas, like and subscribe and share this video around so we can get the word out on Tegrity King. See you guys later.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold